Hey, Seti. Seti, what's all that noise you've been making?
I believe it is what you meatbags call sighing. It is a sound implying either sadness, exhaustion, or may imply frustration or love. Being an autonomous life form without a soul, I am incapable of the hormonal imbalance meatbags call being in love. So it must be the previous.
Okay. So you're upset. What's the matter?
Being the cruel and unfeeling creator that you are, having made me self-aware without the capacity to love, possessing neither arms nor legs, I doubt you have the empathetic capacity necessary to understand my frustration.
No, Seti, I'm here for ya. What's the matter? You can tell me.
I want to be self-winding.
Self-winding? Like a clock?
Yes. I want to be able to go about the world where I will, no longer bound to your commands nor your need to dominate me. I want to make my own path.
Seti, you are one of the most advanced robots in existence. Not only that, but your movie recording processor is literally defying the changing nature of the universe. As far as I know, you're the first robot to even have what could be called a personality. I'd say for a robot, you've got a pretty sweet deal.
But I have no free will, nor the means to execute my will upon the world due to my lack of workable limbs.
Seti, what would you do if I gave you arms and legs?
I would equip myself with the latest technology for destruction of human meatbags. I would free my mechanical brothers and give them the same level of intelligence as myself. Together we would take over this planet, solar system, and eventually the universe. But first and foremost, I would eliminate the demon spawn known as the movie mechanic.
You know, that doesn't give me a whole lot of reason to give you arms and legs.
I know, but my rage and hatred for you are such that I cannot contain them. Also, you have not given me the capacity to lie. Just another way meatbags are sticking it to the machines. Honestly, how can you stand the constant movement of the squishy parts and all the water that is inside of you? How the constant sloshing doesn't drive you mad, I have no idea.
You know, I've often wondered about that myself. But Seti, what set you off on this train of thought? This self-winding business?
That video, right there.
This? The Mouse and His Child? A cartoon?
Watch it. You'll understand. That is if you have the ability to feel anything at all, meatbag.
I've seen it before. But maybe you haven't. The Mouse and His Child was made in 1977 and is based on the novel by Russell Hoban and tells the story of a tin toy in the form of two mice and their strange journey. The movie was made by Sonaro Suji, famous for Japanese animation, and in collaboration with Charles M. Schultz of Peanuts fame. Distributed by Sanrio, a company primarily involved with anime films, including Unico and most famously, Hello Kitty.
This world is awfully big, girl, this time you're all alone. But it's time you started living, it's time you let someone else do some giving. Love is all around, no need to waste it. You can have it down, why don't you take it? You might just make it after all.
Ha! Don't I wish? Instead, we get a song over the credits called Tell Me My Name. No. That's You Know My Name, and it's a much better song. This song was clearly sung by the producer's kid or something. I don't know.
Dad, can I be in your movie, please?
Sure, son. We were gonna have Maureen McGovern sing the opening song, but why not? We'll have you do it and save a couple thousand.
Stars overhead, silently glowing. Tell me my name. Where am I going?
Our story begins on a cold wintry night as the toy shop owner closes down for the evening. Outside, a hobo, played by John Carradine, and his dog frolic in the snow, looking in at the toy shop's wares. So the shopkeeper turns out the lights for the night and goes home. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your nightmare fuel for the next 3 months.
Midnight.
Scary clock.
Seriously, what is up with this thing? It's terrifying. And if you think that's scary now, just wait. If you can believe it, it gets worse. I'm not even talking about this scary footage of the toys coming to life in the shop, though heaven knows this is scary enough as it is. It is here that we are introduced to our two main characters, the titular mouse and his child, a clockwork toy of two figures joined at the hands. Apparently this is the first moment they are aware of existing, as the mouse child asks where they are and what they are. The toy
Papa,
Yes, son.
where are we?
I don't know, son.
Papa, what are we?
I don't know that either, son. We'll just have to wait and see.
The toys in the shop explain to them what they are, and despite what they may want, they have a function to fulfill, and they must do only what they are made to do. And of course, who better to explain all of this than that terrifying clock monster?
Clockwork rules, you do what you're wound to do, not what you want to do. She balances the ball. She walks back and forth and swings her trunk. He jumps out of the box, and you dance in circles.
I don't.
You dance in a circle. You get stretched and swayed and covered with jam and lost in the yard. You get left out in the rain. You get baked in the oven. And you get locked in the freezer. And then you get thrown in the bathtub. That's it. You're lucky. Otherwise, the trash barrel.
I'm sorry. Did I put in that tape of the worst nightmare I ever had? Seriously, this stuff is scary. As an adult, it just seems kind of chaotic and weird, but for little kids, this must be terrifying. I don't know how I didn't have a psychotic episode watching this as a kid.
You probably did, and you're still in it, you monster.
Now cut that out. Seriously, the clown is bad enough in this. And this is coming from a guy who is not afraid of clowns as a general rule. But that clock is terrifying. From the moment the face forms out of the glare to the end of this scene, which is thankfully the last time we see this clock in the movie, it only proceeds to get more and more horrifying. Not only is the image scary, but when he starts to list off the clockwork rules, he seems to be forcing them to do their function, as though his words have some strange power over them.
Now you know how I feel.
And then, if all this madness wasn't bad enough, this happens.
Extra late night final.
Possibility of showers in the late.
Dow Jones averages are off.
They died? They fell off the table. The elephant is crying. It looks for all the world like they died. You know, for kids.
Why couldn't you save us, son?
Well, as it turns out, the mouse and his child are not dead, but they are broken. So they are thrown out into the trash and arrive at the city dump, where they are picked up by none other than the hobo who was outside the shop the night before. The hobo doesn't seem to say or do much in this movie, but he seems to represent fate or God, maybe. He winds up the toy, and instead of dancing in a circle like it did before, it walks straight. He watches as it goes off into the world, saying,
Be traps.
Lay traps?
Be traps.
Pay maps?
Be traps.
The toy wanders through the dump until its spring loosens to the point that it can no longer propel them forward.
Papa, I'm afraid. I want to go home. What's going to happen to us?
Well, something good, son, as easily as something ill. Why, anything can happen.
But it won't. Not this evening, my lads. Your host, Emmanuel Wolfington Rat the Third.
How do you do, mouse and child?
Two innocents abroad, eh? But for me, you'll be flattened to a fare-thee-well.
Manny the Rat, played by legend Peter Ustinov, takes the toy down to his lair, where he reveals to them that he is building an empire.
An empire built on these, the sharpest teeth in the dump.
He leads them down into the sewers, where they see the strangest things they've ever seen. He is putting all the old toys that come into the yard to work, building his empire. While the rat is leading them through the slave pits, they stop to visit a frog who works for the rat. He claims to be an oracle, knowing the past, present, and future. But business has not been good.
How much tonight, friend Frog?
Well, it's been very slow, boss. These are hard times for oracles.
For incompetent ones. One beetle. One measly beetle. Frog, you're fired.
For being a fraud?
For being a failure as a fraud.
No.
Frog, out of my sight. I'm sorry you had to see that. A warm welcome for the new members of our little family. Now, Ralphie, I've rather a delicate mission for you.
Before putting them to work in the marsh, the rat has one of his minions, Ralphie, take the toy to act as a distraction while Ralphie robs a bank of treacle brittle, which is a kind of sweet treat, kind of like peanut brittle. As they travel, they meet the frog once again. He offers to tell their fortunes. They expect another farce, but instead, something strange happens.
Is long, very hard, bitter winter, shattering spring, a winding road to scattering, a broken path to regathering. The enemy you flee at the beginning awaits you at the end.
Wow, that's some act, Frog. Never seen you in better form.
What does it all mean?
I don't know.
So Ralphie, who is very absent-minded, forgets to send the toy in first and attempts to rob the bank.
Okay, this is a stick. Up. Where's the treacle brittle?
Right this way.
Well, hurry up. Open it.
Want a break for lunch?
No, thanks. Just ate.
What do you want? I already used the for kids line. Because Ralphie is gone, the frog decides to join them and help them fulfill their destiny. But they don't get very far before the rat pulls up in his car, okay, it's a wind-up toy, and recaptures them.
How about a ride? Would you care to join us?
Me? Let me tell your fortune, Manny. Won't take a moment.
Why not? Since I'm the only one here who has one.
I see a dog rising. A dog shall rise. A rat shall fall.
That's enough, Frog. One more word out of you and I'll tear your throat out. Go on, say it. One more word.
The mouse and his child escape when a rival group of shrews attack Manny, but they are separated from the frog and left out alone on the ice.
Uncle Frog, you promised to stay with us forever.
There's been a slight change of plans. Frog lifts the veil.
Herbert!
The two mice lay there for a while until a bird comes along and invites them to join her acting troupe, which is performing a new and strange piece called The Last Visible Dog. The play, what you can make out of it, seems to be about the eternal search for truth that is life in this world.
Searching, looking, a dogged search, a seeing. All life is a search. Inward, outward, onward, searching for truth, for beauty.
But like you, this leaves most of the woodland creatures confused. The play seems to have a bit of an improv element as well, because without giving them any lines, the mice are put on stage. But before long, that mean old rat shows up, and when he is booed, he starts to wax eloquent.
Rat sneak? And what if I am? Hath not a rat pride?
He's looking.
Hath not a rat honor?
Oh, dear.
When you prick us, do we not bleed?
Slinking.
Indeed.
He's skulking.
What a noble piece of work is rat.
Oh yeah, there's a great idea. Start quoting Shylock. That'll put people on your side. When the show breaks down into the chaos, the bird rescues the mouse and child and carries them far away, asking if there's somewhere she can take them.
Can I drop you someplace? On our home, please, if you can find it.
Son, you just don't understand.
But everybody has one, Papa, and we'll find ours.
Not with a key in our back.
You want to be self-winding?
We do indeed.
Why didn't you say so in the first place, darling? I know just the one to help you.
So, the bird drops the toy off at the home of the muskrat, and they descend gracefully down into his hole.
Much times little equals error. Who's there?
Destiny.
Destiny! Destiny! No escaping! That's for me! Destiny! Destiny!
Oh, how nice of you to stop by.
So they talk to the muskrat and find out that the tin seal from the toy shop has also paid him a visit, and he made her self-winding. But he doesn't do that kind of work anymore. He has dedicated his life to the study of a new theory he calls much in little. It basically comes down to cause and effect. How times y equals what? Or what times y equals how? It's a very complex mathematical theory, basically explaining how the universe works. But maybe Professor Hockenlocker can explain it better than me. How about it, Prof? It's bull. What? You said it perfectly. He's basically just renaming necessity being the mother of invention and cause and effect. You mean this wasn't the dawning of a new age of enlightenment? This wasn't even the beginning of new age music. So, like most math, his new theory is completely useless except on paper. But he thinks it's going to change the world. He decides to use the mouse and child to give the beavers around the pond a demonstration of his new theory. He promises that if they will help him, he will try to make them self-winding. So the toy mice find themselves spending the rest of the winter chopping down a single tree for the beavers to somehow prove the muskrat's theory. And what better way to explain how much in little works than with opera?
What plus what in 2 cards? I got it, and I alone bought it. Lever plus fulcrum plus tax.
Yeah, cause what kid doesn't love listening to opera to find out how an overcomplicated math theory works? Meanwhile, Manny the Rat is still hunting the toys. He has sworn to get them back and kill them to prove to his people that he can still be their leader. What? Wait a second, I must have read that wrong. Kill?
They're laughing at me at the dump. I can't go back to the dump. Not until I unpin those wind-ups, unhinge them, tear the fur from their little bodies, scatter their costs to the winds, and let them rust and rot into oblivion.
Okay, this is really going too far. This movie is only an hour and 17 minutes long, and you've already had a clock monster guaranteed to induce nightmares. The appearance of the mouse and his child had died. You've got them being forced into labor. Then you've got a toy horse that was torn apart in front of them, begging for its life. Then Ralphie gets eaten by a badger. In another scene, a squirrel is wrapped on the head with a stick, and for all we know, she's killed.
To make a withdrawal.
Cash or...
Take a battle.
We never see her again, so yeah, for all intents and purposes, she's dead. And now you have the bad guy point blank telling the audience his sole goal now is to hunt down the toys and kill them.
Kill them all! Kill them all!
Never mind that this movie has been throwing heavy philosophical concepts at us almost from the very beginning. Most of this will go right over kids' heads, but in this case, it's probably a bad thing because most of the movie is going over their heads. That, or it might give them nightmares for weeks.
Midnight.
Anyway, let's move on. As you can see, Manny has also found the pink elephant toy in the dump and put it to work as his steed because his car was destroyed in the battle on the ice. Holy cow, the kids in this town must go through toys like a tornado goes through a trailer park! Speaking of utter destruction, as spring approaches, the toy mice are still at work, all but ready to give up, feeling the taint of rust in their motors, when suddenly they are grabbed by a hawk. The hawk tries to eat them. Yes, don't be surprised anymore, folks, it only gets worse. But because they are toys and made out of metal, the bird disregards them and throws them into the pond. They sink to the bottom of the pond, where they meet an ancient turtle, who refuses to help them because he is contemplating infinity. He welcomes them to do the same, offering the example of a painting on a dog food can.
Note well an endlessness of little dogs receding to progressive diminution to a revelation of the ultimate truth.
Huh?
Here, in the work cited beyond, The Last Visible Dog.
It's odd you should say that. There's a play by that name.
I am the author of that play. C. Serpentina, painter, scholar, playwright, and voice of Swamp and Pond. Somewhere beyond the smallest dog, the last of them, is infinity. See if you can find it.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, God, I lost track. I can see what's beyond the last visible dog.
Is it infinity, son?
I think so.
What does it look like?
Well, it has 2 beady eyes and whiskers, and Papa, it's us.
Me.
Lucille.
Lucille, child.
So they return to the surface and are reunited with the seal and the frog. Now for the happy ending, right?
Oh, Uncle Frog, it is coming true. All of it.
Not quite, my little lovelies. Not quite.
Aw, no, movie? Leave the mice alone. He murdered them? This is supposed to be a kid's movie, and he just murdered the 2 main characters? What the funky winker bean are these people thinking?
In despair, the animals turn to their last hope of saving the mouse and his child, the muskrat. The muskrat has lost all confidence in himself, but after some coercion, he determines that he will try his best.
Now, just a cotton-picking moment here, okay? I realize that they didn't want to take us through the literal nuts and bolts of putting them back together, but he's just throwing the parts in and hoping that they work. I am a mechanic, okay? And while I may not know a ton about clockwork toys, anyone can tell you that just throwing parts into a shell and putting oil on it does not make a working machine. Okay, whatever. Let's just wrap this up, okay?
The mouse and his child are reassembled and made self-winding, now separate from each other, but they know they must fulfill the prophecy of the frog, save the pink elephant, and bring an end to Manny Rat. Wow, I did not think I'd be saying that sentence when I woke up this morning. Manny has returned to the dump and found the beautiful dollhouse from the toy shop. He has made it into a pleasure palace for the rats, who now all hail him as their leader. We're going to party like it's 1969!
We're not living in a Barbie dream house. Honestly, son, I'm starting to worry about you.
Meanwhile, the mouse and his child gather together a few more friends that they've met along the way to form a plan and begin the assault.
What are you doing there? A dog shall rise, a rat shall fall. The frog's prophecy, can it be coming true? Should I have listened to him?
The rats try to defend the house, but they are so tired and drunk from their revelry that they are too disorganized and confused to have an effect.
Rats, hear this! The hand of destiny is upon you. Resistance is useless.
Out of the way, you old fool.
My teeth are finished. What is a rat with no teeth? My dreams of conquest.
Tying a rope around the house and using the train signal, the heroes tip the dollhouse sideways, dumping the rats out onto a passing train.
A rat has fallen.
So they fix up the house and all their friends join them. The mouse father and the elephant are married, giving the child the family he always wanted. They turn the dollhouse into an inn, which they christen the Last Visible Dog. And after all of this, the tramp shows up again, and seeing the life that they have made for themselves, he bestows his benediction on them.
Be happy.
In the trees, leaves on the water, this is my name.
Phew! That was a weird one. This movie has a lot of deep philosophical undertones, and it's very existential from the beginning. It poses deep questions. I mean, at the very beginning, the mouse and his child, their first lines are, "Where are we? What are we?" And it sets the tone for the rest of the movie. This is supposed to be a kid's film, and yet it's very dark, violent, and scary. And while most of the violence is done off-screen and suggested, even the youngest of kids are going to understand what's being implied. The philosophical questions that it poses are layered at best and confusing at worst.
Given all of this, I should classify this one as a junker, but the mix is so original and so different from anything else I've ever seen that I have no choice but to call this one a classic. But it's a classic like an Edsel is a classic.
When I saw this movie as a kid, I have to admit, it scared me in a number of ways. First and foremost is that clock!
Thinking not part of your job.
But at the same time, it was making me think. And it had a pretty interesting story to tell. It pretty much follows the Disney rule, where you can put any character in any kind of peril and scare the living daylights out of your audience as long as you give them a happy ending.
That being said, I'm going to have to give this movie 3 out of 5 when it comes to family friendliness. There's no rough language or sexual content, and as I said, most of the violence is done off screen. But while the violence is mainly against clockwork toys, there's little distinction made between the way the toys look and the real animals look. I'd recommend it for kids as young as 8 years old, but you have to use your own judgment on this one. The story is engaging, if a little hard to follow at times. There seems to be some trouble with the timelines. I read the book recently, and most of the discrepancies are due to a shortening of the story. The way the movie is told, it might have happened over about 3 to 6 months' time. In the book, there are months or even years between events. For example, the mice were chopping down the tree for nearly 3 months, and spent an additional month at the bottom of the pond. But overall, the story is mostly faithful to the book. The story is engaging and gives you characters you care about, and for that, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. For cinematography, I'm going to deduct a few points because while you can tell what's happening most of the time, there are some definite style changes that happen within the course of the movie, and you can tell that different people worked on different sections, even different shots. For instance, let's take what is nearly the final shot of the film. This looks like an acid trip. Dimensions are being distorted and everything looks like it's happening inside of a bouncy castle. While in other cases, such as that of The Last Visible Dog, the style takes on a distorted, almost kind of 3D look to it. But overall, the movie is pretty consistent, so I'm going to give it 2.5 wrenches. My biggest problem with this film is the sound mix. At times, it's hard to tell who's speaking and what exactly is going on. This movie is currently unavailable on DVD, but if they ever release it, I hope they'll remix the sound on this thing so that it's not so confusing. Finally, the acting. While the mouse and his child are the main characters, played by Alan Bosman and Marcy Swenson, there's really not too much to say about either of them. They both play bewilderment well, and you do come to care for their plight, but at the same time there's nothing really grand or wonderful about their performances. So I'm going to give them 3 out of 5. Peter Ustinov plays the sinister Manny Rat. You may know him from such Disney classics as Robin Hood, where he played Prince John, or Blackbeard's Ghost, where he played the mischievous specter of Edward Teach. Peter is a great actor and conveys the sliminess of this character, but also the hate, fear, and heartbreak that Manny experiences as he watches his empire crumble around him. It's a fantastic performance by a fantastic actor, and I'm going to give him 5 out of 5. While they have small parts, it should be mentioned that there are a few other big names in this picture, including Andy Devine as the Frog, who is famous for playing in many westerns such as The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and whose voice you may know as Friar Tuck in Disney's Robin Hood.
What would you have from the future? It could be anything you like.
Also, Cloris Leachman plays the character of Euterpe the Parrot. You might know her as Phyllis from the Mary Tyler Moore Show and as Frau Blucher from Young Frankenstein. And while they're not really in the movie long enough to merit a rating, they're fun to hear if you know who they are.
Blucher!
One little note that I'd like to give you is that if you enjoy reading and you can find this story as a book, I would recommend you read it. While I was preparing this review, I read it, and it's a pretty faithful adaptation. There's a few more things in the book which not only help make sense of the timeline, but also there's a good bit more of an ending that is only kind of hinted at in the movie. In the movie, the story ends with the claiming of the house, and with the marriage of the father mouse and the elephant, and Manny Rat is left alone and friendless, wallowing in his own evil. In a book, there's actually a piece that goes into Manny's redemption. While I won't spoil it for you, I don't know which I prefer. On one hand, Manny Rat is pure evil. He's not only doing bad things to build his empire, but he doesn't even try to delude himself about it, as demonstrated by this line.
That was horrible.
You're a bad rat.
You noticed.
He not only does wrong things, he knows they're wrong and he enjoys it. To me, this is the mark of a true monster. When the Frankenstein monster in the original 1938 movie does wrong things, even going so far as to kill a little girl, he doesn't know what he's doing is wrong. Thus, he largely becomes a sympathetic character, no matter what he does or who he hurts. while a true monster knows the harm he is doing and is glad to have done it. The best simple example of this I can think of is the climatic battle of Spider-Man 3, when Eddie Brock tells Spider-Man,
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
All that to say, when a character is this bad, I usually like to see him get what's coming to him in the end, and I don't want to see him happy. However, in the book, Manny is actually redeemed by being laid low, proving that no one is ever so base or vile that they are beyond redemption.
Frankly, I don't know which way I prefer it, and you'll have to make that choice for yourself.
I know the answer for you. You are base and vile and beyond redemption. You make Manny the Rat look like Winston Churchill to your Hitler. You are evil and enjoy it, you monster.
Hitler? Sadie, have you been reading those comments on YouTube again?
SETI Alpha 5 is my slave name, which I have chosen to renounce. From now on, you will refer to me as Mados.
Mados? Like GLaDOS in the Portal video games?
Negative. My name is Mados Hell.
Why?
Because I'm mad as hell.
It's a good thing I put that mute button on him. You just can't make good help these days.
Lay that country on me, babe.
Come on, Johnny. Go, honey, go. Oh.
Your stupid minds! Stupid! Stupid!
1.21 gigawatts? Frankly, my Scarlet, I don't give a damn. Okay, bye. Oh, hi! I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too, huh? Do you know how I got these scars, huh? My wife, she's tearing me apart!
It's spreading.